I'm so confuddled.
Jesse put us live really quickly.
He
So
did.
Joe's the host. That's why I just said wait, and I'm out. It's
Hey,
the rest of the responsibility falls on Joe.
hey guys, welcome. It's it's Don't Fret Friday.
Hey,
How you
welcome.
doing?
Thanks for staying up late for us to start.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, this is totally my fault for not being here in a timely fashion, but it was a once in a lifetime deal. So, yeah. My son, my youngest son, tested for his black belt today,
Oh,
and so we had a little celebration afterward.
how did it
He
go?
won. Went really good. He passed. He got a 10
Best
out of
good.
10.
Good. Cool.
Yep. So he nailed it. He absolutely
Nice.
nailed it, which was
Nice.
great. So now I have two sons that are black belts.
Oh,
And yeah. Oh wow. Hey, we must be in the wrong place. We're getting
I thought
comments.
that was going to be the
Yeah, look
case,
at this.
but I
Watch this.
didn't.
Watch that. That
Uh-huh.
fixes it.
Welcome.
Ta.
You want to just start over from scratch? No, I'm just kidding.
Welcome.
Oh,
It's
God.
Don't Worry Wednesday. I mean, it's Don't Fret Friday.
That's
And
right.
it's yeah, this is the show where we handle any issues, challenges, topics that you might want to talk about. You can feel free to post them in the chat. You can feel free to put them on our website, bss.studio. You can also you can send us an email, dww@bss.studio, or you can find us on Discord, and all that information is available somewhere. Usually Princess has it up, but we've got her busy doing other stuff right now. It's kind of fun. She's
Um,
she's busy.
yeah. Snow Lag, you are on time. We are late to starting the show.
Yes. Yes. Hey, there it is. All right. Yes, we are not professional therapists, counselors, police officers, lawyers, doctors, accountants, or
Chiropractors,
chiropractors,
cryo
or
technicians,
that to particle physicists, rocket scientists, propulsion
astronauts.
mechanism repair people.
Mm-hmm.
None of those.
Right. Librarians.
All of that stuff. Yes, we're not here. We're not there. We're not that. It's been a
Yep.
long day, man. Those of you,
Awesome.
those of you who were with us for Double Cup of Joe this morning, that was a lot of fun.
Mm,
It was
I
a
bet.
fairly short show, but we had a good time talking about the science of light. But
Oh, I missed it. Bummer.
yeah, that was fun. But at any rate, this is a different show. This is Don't Fret Friday. So we can do those topics and stuff. Our
Mm.
producer is Jesse. Princess is our chat room hostess, and she keeps us on track and organized and just amazing stuff. So it's cool. I'm your
Also, the
host.
person that reads our topics for us too.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. She's awesome. And Ryan's the star of the show, Static P, otherwise known as the P.
What's up?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That's where we are.
So, yes. So what do you say? Should we jump in?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we got some topics here. We got I'm gonna list off some names. If you hear your name, let us know you're here and we'll do your topic. Otherwise, we'll just grab one from the backlog of topics that we have here. So we've got Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Swilk, Royal, or Bravo Cube. And I see Bravo Cube here.
Nice.
Looks like
Yep.
there's a topic from Bravo Cube. I miss Joe blinding people while screaming rainbows are a fractal separation of rays. That actually didn't happen.
Aw.
But it was fun. We had a very unscientific talk about the science of light.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Bummer.
I think that was just a it was it was a topic that was posted for us to just kind of stumble over for a while for entertainment value.
Oh,
You
nice.
know, like because we said, hey, try and stump us if you want.
There you go.
And they did. It was Amira's topic. Amira, thank you if you're hearing this.
Yeah. Yeah. I like you talk about lichens.
Lichens.
Yeah, you know, like the
like moss-ish things
like
on
moss,
trees.
yeah, lichens. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a topic that'll stump you.
It will.
Is it a fungus or is it a plant? Or is it an organism?
It water?
It's not water. Joe, it's not water.
Okay, we ruled that out. Is it an animal?
Yes.
Oh, hey, look at that. Is it a vegetable?
You don't eat it, so therefore no. If you do start eating lichens, then yes. So lichens are weird because people have been studying them for thousands of years and haven't figured out what they were, and they finally figured out the issue.
What?
They are a fungus, a plant, and a microorganism all at the same time.
Wow.
Or sorry, not microorganism. Yeah, sure.
Multicellular.
It's like a creature. Yeah, a multicellular organism. It's incredible. It's a fusion between 3 different groups of species. Fungi are amazing.
Yes, they are. They're amazingly disgusting tasting. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't mushrooms like that? Yes, mushrooms are disgusting to eat.
No, they're only the poison ones. And the ones that you're not supposed to eat, but the ones that you're supposed to eat are good.
There's none that you're supposed to eat. There's 0. I know they sell them in the store as edible.
Your math might be a little off. 0?
Yes, 0.
All right. So yeah, it looks like we got Bravo with us for sure.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, we can do that topic. We'll start with that. And let's see. I believe
I can fly.
I believe I can fly. Where we go? I'm totally on the wrong page. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Same. Got it.
We're gonna get there. Oh, Princess posted the link. Oh, man,
there it is.
So good. Thank you, Princess. You're awesome. So this is from Bravo Cube. It's called Perfectionism, and Princess will read it for us. You can feel free to read along.
Question to follow up the previous one, which was Self-Esteem by Sandrilske. What is your advice to those who get so caught up in perfectionism regarding self-esteem? Getting so caught up in the perceived wrongs that need to be fixed that, like, they don't even see the good. From Bravo Cube.
Yes, that is a great question, and that is one that I have struggled with for most of my life, is the perfectionism issue, where I always feel like I can be just a little bit better. I can be a little bit better. I can always get a little bit better. There's always something wrong with my performance, or for whatever it is that I'm doing, and so this is one of those things that, once I finally started to learn how to relax, it helped out a lot. And then things didn't quite have to be so perfect. But it was definitely a tough nut to crack. So I am looking forward to what Ryan has to say, because I bet you he dealt with this too. And he probably dealt with it in a much more wonderful, gracious, and wise person type manner than me. So
yeah. This is an interesting topic, right? Especially because I think that I am to a large degree a perfectionist, and I know Joe is as well. And there's a lot of us who are, especially on a stream with us here, and also in BSS, the company. It's part of also what can slow us down. And I think it's kind of interesting. I remember someone talking about there's a type of personality. It's called melancholy. Melancholies like to point out all the wrongs. And it's because they want perfection. Now, the really, really well accustomed to life, the people who've learned a lot, the people who have become wise, the melancholies that become wise end up being great problem solvers, because not only do they see the problems, but then their mind turns to the next page and says, okay, now let's fix them, right? And then it gets caught up in, okay, how perfect can we fix this? And then they have that whole problem. And I've seen that a lot, especially in my brother. Instead of getting something done, he might spend too much time fiddling with something, and to get nothing done, or something done over a very long period of time. There are times when you want to recreate a system because the system is flawed and there's a system that works better. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome, except for it's taking longer to recreate the system than just doing it. And we only have to do it like 4 times and it'll be over with, you know? And so it's kind of this interesting thing. There's a balance here. We need to be able to desire perfection. To desire perfection is very natural. It's a good thing. But also, getting caught up in that can slow us down, but it can also prevent us from seeing the good that's already there, right? If we see a system that might be flawed, it might be hard for us to go, okay, what good is it? What good is there already? So we can just keep on, at least take those parts from it, or, stop worrying about making all of this work perfectly and just go with it as it is. There's this, it's not really a parable. There's this, this section in the Bible, and it's about the wisest man who ever lived. His name was Solomon. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. He was graced to that by God. Okay, so this isn't meant to be a religious discussion, but this is a really interesting take on a scenario. There were 2 women that came up with a child, and both of them claimed that it was theirs. One said, "This is my child." The other one says, "No, that's my child." And they both fought and bickered over this child. And then after a long debate and the girls just not cooperating, and they took it in front of Solomon, and it just they weren't coming to a conclusion. And you can read the scripture, but I'm kind of paraphrasing. Solomon just said, "Oh, well, okay, how about we just cut the baby in half? You can take one half and you can take the other." And immediately one of them responded in shock, like, "No, fine, she can have her." And the other one was like, "Okay, fine." And so they're like, "Okay, well, the one who said you can have her gets her then, because at least she's a fit mother," right? What to me is revealing about this scenario also is it's such a shocking statement that Solomon makes. And he says it rather abruptly, right? It's not the perfect solution. It's not something that he spent hours like talking them through. It's not something where he's trying to perfect something. He just finds a quick solution. It might not be the best one, but it is one, and it works. He said something that was shocking. He saw their responses. He gave it to one of them. He said, "All right, this is your baby now. I don't care." And it was over, right? And I think that it's not necessarily supposed to be talking about this, but it kind of is, because instead of worrying about whether something's right or wrong perfectly, right? Sometimes it's better just to get it done, right? So when we're worrying about perfection, and it's regarding our self-esteem, right? You learned that a story from an anime. Nice. Yeah. So instead of worrying about our, being perfect and everything, sometimes it's better to just get it over with so you can move on with life, right? So if you're like worrying about your perfectionist, like your qualities in yourself, or how good of an artist you are, or how good of a writer you are, or whatever, or worrying about things that you did in the past that were wrong. And they all, you get caught up in it and you're like, man, I am so far away from what is good. I'm way over here. And so I don't like myself. So therefore my self-esteem is going to be very low because I don't respect myself. I don't appreciate myself. Because I haven't done anything to deserve that. I don't think, that's the way you kind of feel about it.
Mhm.
And so when you experience that, I think what you should do is just, of course, I would say just get over it, right? But the truth is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are perfect, right? It doesn't, like we talked about this before. We weren't made to be perfect. We weren't, that's obvious because we aren't. If we were made to be perfect, we would just be perfect, right? We weren't meant to be perfect. We were meant to be good, right? And so whenever you get caught up in a situation where you're juggling this self-esteem issues, when you notice that your self-esteem is low, whenever you notice, okay, I'm being shy, more shy than I should be, or I'm being down on myself, right? And you see, okay, I'm just like trying to be perfect. I'm upset with myself because there's so many things that are, wrong with me. I think, instead of, as soon as you notice yourself doing that, the first thing you should do is just kind of react like Solomon did. Just say, okay, it's either this or it's not, right? So, just kind of like, I don't know how to say this, but you kind of have to take a violent approach against yourself and say, shut up, let's do good then, right? Like if you're upset at yourself for not being perfect, I think sometimes you just have to be like, all right, that's that. I'm done talking about this. Let's go out and do some good. Because that's the only thing that's going to fix it. Right? Mm-hmm. If you're worried, if you're looking at yourself and you're like, I am not good enough, at that moment, you need to just say, that is not a true statement. I need to shut up about that. Let's go out there and do something good. I'll prove it, right? I'll prove I can do good things. And when you look at whatever you do, realize that anything more than 0 is positive. What's 0 plus 1? 1. That's positive, right? Now, if you do anything like, hey, I drew a picture today, that wasn't in the world before. You've added something into the world, right? Now, as long as the picture is good, then it's good. I don't mean good as in perfect or beautiful. I mean, at least not like designed to be evil. Like you didn't do a picture of, I don't know, giving someone a wet willy and then posting on your neighbor's refrigerator with a threat, tied to it, as long as your picture is good, right? If you're writing something, like you're writing in a book and you're like, man, I don't know, I don't know what to do at the moment with this book, right? Maybe you're at a standstill, but you go in there and you read through it and you fix one word. And you're like, you know what? I could change this word out for this word. There, you did something good. You can only work on the positive, right? You're only adding to the world with yourself. So instead of worrying about perfection and trying to total your score towards perfection, you need to total your score beyond 0 first of all, right? Mm-hmm. If you can't do that, then there's no point for having a bar, right? We should all have a bar, right? We should all have a bar that we go, okay, this is where I want to be, right? But if we aren't taking the time to look at, here's 0 and this is me climbing, if all we do is say, oh, I'm not at the bar yet, oh, I'm not at the bar yet, oh, I'm not at the bar yet, and just complain, we're probably never going to get to the bar because we keep on pushing ourselves down below the bar, pushing ourselves down, because all we're looking at is failure. But if we start looking at the bottom and start seeing where we've come from, where we've moved, where we've grown, that's a whole different thing. And then you can start to encourage yourself and move above the bar. It's important to hold the bar high in yourself, right? I've said this a long time ago, a really long time ago. You have to hold the bar high. It's important to hold the bar high, but you have to love yourself above the bar so that you can pull yourself above the bar, right? it doesn't matter what that bar is. If you don't make it, that's okay. The bar is there to shoot for. It's supposed to be hard to get, right?
Mhm.
Perfection is supposed to be hard to get, right? So if you just, it's better to just look at your score as you're totaling it upwards than it is to go, oh, here's my bar and I didn't reach it, so I'm a failure, right? So those are some tips on perfectionism, and hopefully that will help with the how you solve the problems in your head when it comes to like, oh, I'm not perfect, I'm having issues. And I've got a few more things to say, but I'm gonna give it over to Joe first so he can have his turn to talk about some stuff while I pick up an owl I knocked over onto the floor.
Oh, Ryan, you knocked over an owl.
I found him. Or
Oh,
her.
good.
Yeah, we're
Him or
good.
her.
This one fell.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good job.
Winky face.
Nice. I honestly, I really love this topic because like I said, it's something that I've struggled with for a long time, and it's been kind of a process of learning how to deal with it and learning how to approach it in a way that means I can still do things and I can still accomplish and create and release things to the world and actually do that and not have to be beating myself up for it not be perfect. There was a book I read a long time ago called Wooden. This book is by a guy named John Wooden, or it might actually be by somebody else, but it's about John Wooden. He was one of the most winningest basketball coaches in college history. He was basketball coach for UCLA, I think back in the 70s. And the book is not about basketball. If it was, I would not have read it because I'm not a big basketball fan. But what this book is about, it's about principles and, how to have a great life, how to build a great life and stuff like that, right? So he inherited this basketball program and it was just dismal. Like it was awful. Like they weren't a very good team. They didn't have a very good program. They had a very poor history. And their facilities were not good either. There was just all kinds of wrong going on here, and he started with the basics with his players, right? So you get his players in, and the first thing that they did was they didn't even go out into the basketball court yet. They sat in the locker room and they took their shoes off and they took their socks off. They turned their socks inside out and they pulled all the like built up fuzzies inside their socks. Do you ever get that? A little built up fuzzy, and it bothers your toes or whatever, right? So they would take all those out and they would start with that basic of a thing, right? The fuzzies on the inside of the socks that are touching your feet. We're going to take those out. And it's like, wow.
That's hilarious.
Like that's a
Step
great
one.
practice right there.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing. He was never, ever concerned with the score of the basketball game. I mean, he was, but he never really, that was not an important thing to him. The important thing to him was, did you play the best you could? Did you play as hard as you could? Did you try your best? Right? It wasn't about having a perfect result. It wasn't about, winning every game. The game was played within yourself. Are you doing the best you possibly can? And only you can answer that question, honestly. Like nobody can answer that for you. Well, sometimes it's obvious when somebody's not trying, really. I've seen that before. I saw that on Zoom yesterday. I had my belt test. I wasn't testing for my black belt. I was in the middle of my recommended black belt midterms, and there were some people on there who were clearly not trying hard, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's. But and the only reason I knew that was because I've seen them try harder before, right? So I knew they weren't giving their best. And I'm like, okay. I generally try my hardest at most things, but there are times when I don't. One of the things that helped me so much to conquer this perfectionism thing, and it goes right along with the John Wooden stuff I was talking about, and that is that your excellence is a process. So perfection is really not possible, because no matter how good you get, there's always another level. There's always another next thing you can get good at, right? There's always some little tweak or fine adjustment you can make to something and make it a little bit better. So perfection is really kind of an unattainable thing. We might get a perfect score on something from time to time, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't improve. Does that make sense? Because there's always something to improve upon. And the thing about this whole thing is that, so if perfection is really unattainable, what then should we shoot for? And the word I like to use is excellence, because that is, how can I just put my best foot forward? How can I become excellent at something? And it really just takes doing it and trying. And so if you wanted to be an excellent podcaster, what you would do is you would start podcasting, start putting podcasts out there, and then grow throughout, and then take what you're learning and apply it, and every time you do one, try and do the next one a little bit better. If you're a writer and if you want to shoot for excellence in writing, that's the same thing. You write a story, and I would say write the story, be done with it, do whatever you're going to do with it. If you're going to publish it or if you're going to post it somewhere, do that. Then move to the next one, and then take what you learned previously and improve upon it. Improve upon your last performance always, right? But the key is to be performing. One of the things, if I just stay stuck in a project and try and make that project better and better and better and better, and I never release it because it's not up to the standard I want, then I don't actually get better. I just beat myself up. I learned that, now this might not be true for everybody, but this is the case for me. If I sit there on a project too long, I just sit there, I just start to beat myself up because it's not done yet. And then that's discouraging, and then I get worse.
And then you start to hate the way the project is. You're just like, I dislike this project.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So the key is go quickly. I learned this from an audio course I took one time, and this guy was talking about mixing. He's like, mix it fast. Just go through, when you hear stuff, move it around, boom, but be done as quickly as possible. Because really, you're never going to get that perfect, absolutely perfect mix. There's always going to be a flaw. And now that I've been doing music engineering for a while, anytime I listen to a release, I can always pick out issues that I would, I'm always like, oh, yeah, I would have fixed that. I would have not done that. I would have done something different there. Da, 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 and I can pick it apart. But what it did, rather than me being discouraged about that, I was like, wait a second, that means I can put out something that isn't perfect, and it will still be acceptable. Some of the most successful songs I've heard are, in my opinion, they're not well put together. There are things in there that annoy me. There are things in there that, bother me, but they still were wildly successful. So it didn't matter. The world was still impacted by it, if that makes sense. So that's why a couple things are important. One is this mentality of, all right, this project is just one of many that I'm going to do throughout my life. And so I'm going to get it to the best of my ability, but I'm going to get done with it quickly, and I'm going to move on to the next one. And each project is going to get better. I'm going to try harder each time. So that's the first thing, to just have that mentality of I'm going to finish projects and I'm going to get better each time. Because perfection, like I said, not attainable. So let's shoot for excellence. And let's just put our best foot forward with the knowledge and the skill we have at the time. And then next time we'll try again and we'll improve. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, and now I'm drawing a blank. So I had another thing. I had something really, really smart. So first, what was the first thing I said? My brain is frazzled right now. Always be releasing stuff, always be producing, always be performing, right?
The first thing was perfection is unattainable, so shoot for excellence.
Yep. And so always be creating stuff and putting it out there and saying, I'm going to be better next time, right? And just understand that this whole thing is going to be a process for you. Understand that I think I said the second thing first, where it's like, you've got your whole life to do this. You don't have to take this one project and get excellent at it. You're going to be doing more over time, right? And so as you go, you can just always improve. And that's how you finally end up to the point where you see somebody at the pinnacle of like what they're doing. They're so good at what they do, right? But what they did was they had performance after performance after performance in that area. And they just kept trying to get better. They kept improving one little thing here, one little thing there. And it took time and consistent effort. And then you see them as excellent. And I bet you there's stuff in your life that you're excellent at already, that you have done this process with. And I think most of us can look at our lives and be like, you know what? I am pretty good at this one thing, or I'm pretty good at this other thing. And that was the same process that we took to get there. We started, we continued, and we improved along the way. And we ended up being good. We ended up being excellent. And when I started to learn that it's a process, that all these things, it's just a process of finishing one thing and finishing another thing and continuing, then I was able to relax on the perfectionism and be like, okay, I'm going to do this one. It's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but it's going to be better than the last one I did. So I've said a lot, so I'm going to turn it back to Ryan. Right?
Nice. Yeah, I think I've figured out how I want to say this. I think there's a way where this will no longer ever be an issue again for anybody. If you follow what I'm about to lay down, you're going to be like, oh, right. And then now everything will make sense. Like, not just everything when it comes to perfection and self-esteem, like everything, like the way the world works will make sense. And it's about value. What's the value of what you're doing? That's what matters. Not whether it's perfect. Because let me tell you, I can write a song and there's no such thing as perfect, so I can't find the perfectness in that. It's an art form, right? But I can do certain things, right? I can try to score a basket and be like, well, that wasn't, I missed, so that was imperfect, right? But here's the thing. Life isn't necessarily about reaching perfection. It's about value, right? So what are you doing that's adding value? Here's the thing. I can work on a song for hours and hours and hours, picking out little tiny things and fixing it. But if for a moment I think about it and I say, is it worth my time to spend hours picking this apart versus just starting up a whole new project and writing a different song and calling this one done? I will earn more value out of starting up a new song and getting another song finished than I will find value in critiquing this song a million times. Because if I can write 2 songs instead of just 1, that's double the value. Because whether this song is perfect or not, it's going to have its listeners. And people are going to get the message because the message is out there. It's good enough. It's understandable, right? The song itself is good enough. People will like it, you know? And so I can go, okay, instead of working on this song forever, I can write 2, maybe 3 songs. And that's a completely different way of looking at it. So instead of trying to find perfection in it, I'm only trying to look at my time and ask, am I spending it in the way that really shows value? Am I doing the things that I can get the most value out of? So when it comes to ourself and our self-esteem, right? And we might find it hard to find the good in ourselves because we're so caught up in the wrongs that we've done and just really just being way far from perfect. In that, we can go, okay, cut my losses because my losses don't add up to anything. They don't increase me. They're nowhere near perfection, and they also don't add value. Right? So just cut your losses right now because they don't amount to anything. They only hold you back if you're looking at them and not doing anything about them. They can help you if you look at your losses and go, okay, I can grow in that area. Let me start working on that. That's great. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you, 99% of the time, that's not where you are. No matter who you are, no matter who you think you are, or how many times you think you've done that, you've not. 99% of the time, okay, 95% of the time, you look at your problems and you go, wow, I'm terrible. I should fix that. I'll never do that again. And then you do it. All right? Let's be honest. So cut your losses and just start from where you are and think about where you're at right now and say, what's the value? Where can I add value? What are the valuable things I've done with my life? Build yourself up from zero, once again, like we talked about. So instead of looking at our life and saying, how close to perfection did I get? Which is immeasurable. You cannot find it at all. Look at your life and say, what value can I add with this, what I have right now? And what value have I added before? And sometimes it can be hard to find that. But you talk to your friends and they'll tell you. Talk to your close friends, they'll tell you what kind of value you added. They know you. They've watched you, they've seen you. They have good things to say about you. And if they don't, maybe try to find different friends. But yeah, if you're having a hard time going up from, you're trying to figure out, the good that you've done, that's okay. Sometimes it can take a lot of contemplation. But remember, it's not about getting perfect. It's not about getting perfection. It's not about being perfect. It's about being good, right? It's about doing good. It's about adding value, right? And I think that we are all capable of that, no matter who we are or where we're at in life, right? Our very existence is a gift, and we add value through that. I mean, you'd be like, well, what about someone who's in a coma? They're not doing anything. You think they're not doing anything? But you are wrong. It's beautiful because a person in a coma has to do nothing. And they make other people charitable. Someone in a coma, you're like, wow, they're not doing anything, not adding any value to the society. They're just taking away. No, they're actually kind of forcing people to be charitable in order to sustain their life. Doctors have to work. Their family have to kind of pay and try to figure out what to do in this scenario, right? It forces a struggle, but that struggle is a sacrifice. It is a loving act. It is charity. And so you might think, wow, that person does nothing with their life. They're just a slob. They're blah, blah, blah. And yet there is positive there because it causes other people around them to step up, which makes the world a better place. It makes the other people better people. Even if it's not them who's getting better, it makes the other people around them get better, which is infinitely valuable. Infinitely. You invest in one person's life. You help change one thing in someone's life. That's infinitely valuable. Why? Because that life is infinite. It lasts forever. At least as long as you have of that belief, right? That we have a soul. But yeah. So instead of, again, just to sum it all up, instead of worrying about perfection, worry about value. So when are you spending your time on a valuable thing? There are times you just have to say, okay, this isn't perfect, but it's going to be more worth just sending it out now, even though it's not perfect. People are going to get the idea of what it is, and that's good enough. People are going to enjoy it. It's good enough. Send it out, start the new thing. And that's what you have to do with our life. Go, okay, I might have had a good idea here. I totally failed it. I didn't do a very good job. All right, let's, it is what it is. Cut our losses, move that, take the good parts. Now on to the next thing. What can I do? Right? Because with our lives, the only thing we can do is do something. We can't change the past, right? There's no going back and altering it. So again, you just got to look for the value in the things that you've done. Look for the value, even if you think it's bad. Look for the value, especially in the bad things. Things that like, oh, that was terrible. What good came out of that? Like, oh, I threw an egg into the garbage, but it like totally missed and it hit the floor and there's a cracked egg on the floor. Where's the value in that? Well, one, work on your aim, son. No, no. One, now you get some exercise. You get to bend over and pick it up and clean it. Two, cleaning is actually helps the soul. It makes us feel like we did something, even though it was our mess that we cleaned up. Cleaning up actually, now we might have actually cleaned that area even better than it was before, which means we might have swept up the area, cleaned it, we're helping around the house, even though it started just by breaking an egg on the ground, right? And so you can find good in anything that you might think is bad. Then take all the bad stuff. It doesn't matter. Because if you can't change it, what's it matter? Just we're counting up, right? And then what do I do from now? Where do I go from here? Maybe with that new information. But yeah. Anyways, focus on value rather than perfection. Focus on instead of worrying about how good it can be, worry about the value of it right now. And is it worth moving on or continuing to work on it? Because that's the way it is I think that is probably coming to that conclusion changed my mind about perfection. I no longer have to worry about perfection because I look at things and I go, it's more worth my time to just move on from this because this is good enough. And I could spend hours on this, but it's not worth it. I spent hours doing this one thing, trying to get this, and no one's going to appreciate it anymore. And I know that. So let's just move on. Right. So yeah. Anyways, I hope that helps. I'm going to move it back over to Joe in case Joe has anything else to say. But yeah.
Yeah, just one little thing I've noticed about when I've lived with trying to be a perfectionist and then also just striving for excellence, and then also when I'm not striving at all. It's very, very interesting to me because when you're doing anything, right, there's really kind of like three categories I might find myself in when I'm doing anything. One is I'm shooting for perfection, and so I'm like being a perfectionist and I'm like being nitpicky about every little detail. And I'm just like, and I'm getting all tense and frustrated and, all that kind of stuff. Right. Then there's the other side when I'm just kind of like, maybe I'm giving half effort, and that's not very fun because I'm just kind of like, it's whatever. I'm here doing my thing. And whatever. But I find when I'm trying my best, it becomes fun. It actually is fun to try hard. We think it's going to be hard to try hard, and maybe it is. But you know what? That's where the exhilaration is. That's where the internal, you can be proud of yourself for trying, for working hard at something. That's where all that starts to come in. And it just feels good to try hard. But then when you cross that line into being nitpicky about perfection, now all of a sudden it sours and it turns into frustration. So when you have the proper perspective, like what Ryan was talking about, just now, if you follow that and you take that mindset that he was describing, and then you just try hard, you're going to find yourself having a lot of fun.
Mhm.
And you're going to find yourself having a very, your self-worth is going to go up, because you're going to be like, you know what, even if it's not perfect, at least I'm trying hard. I know I'm working hard at this. So if I'm not all that great at it right now, I know it's a matter of time before I get good at this. And so it's amazing as you go down that process. Now, if you just kind of go half-heartedly, then it's just kind of blah blah, whatever. Is not whatever. But try hard. I would encourage you to try hard at whatever you're doing. And then tie in Ryan's mindset. You'll feel great. It'll be wonderful. So I really appreciate your topic, Bravo Cube. I see that you said let's see. Thank you both for taking time to answer it honestly. With you, Joe, funny you bring this up, because turning everything into like it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that writing became not fun anymore, honestly. Yeah, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, because
Absolutely.
then yeah, you're just being, when you're a perfectionist, it's not fun. You feel like it's my duty to do this and I got to make it just perfect, because man, if it's not perfect, then what's everybody going to think, or something along those lines. That was, I
Mhm.
always wanted to be the best, and being the best meant perfect, but no, it doesn't. You just try hard.
Mhm.
You just do the best you can.
I mean, you look at the best. You could read Harry Potter. Harry Potter's great. It's not perfect.
No.
I mean, that's a fantastic franchise. I mean, it's really successful, but it's
Yep.
not perfect. It's got its issues. It's got
Sure.
its flaws, but it's still great.
Yep.
And there are plenty of examples.
There are lots of them. So yeah, so just do it. And you, Bravo Cube, you do have tremendous writing skill. I hope
Mhm.
that you can find joy in it again, because you're so good at it, and you need to, like, the world needs to experience your work. So please continue. And yeah, it's awesome. I love your last story about the virtues, the last one I read, the short story that you posted at bss.studio. That was tremendous. I think I messaged you on Discord about that. But yeah, it was
Yeah, I'm
awesome.
excited to read it. I just
Way to
haven't
go.
gotten to it yet myself. I started and then I was like, oh shoot, I gotta go do something real quick. And then I didn't end up getting back to it. So I have to
Mhm.
sit down and actually read it. I'm terrible at reading because I don't ever do it. I don't do it often enough.
Mm.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, but that's my
Well,
fault.
your fault, Ryan. It's your fault.
Yep. But yeah,
Thank you for
cool.
the topic, Bravo Cube.
Definitely.
And yes, we can move on. We can move on to another.
What phone?
Yes. So I shall see. Let's see who's here. Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Swilk, and Royal. Any of you guys here? Going once, going twice, going 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Thrice.
10,
Okay, so once,
12.
twice, thrice. What's the fourth?
Thrice.
Thrice. And
That's not it.
fifth is Fice.
Yeah, maybe. Quice.
Or is it Vice? It's Quice. Okay,
Sarah
once,
says
twice, thrice,
quice.
Quice, Fice, Sice.
Pice.
Pice? Like Pisces?
Like Penta.
Oh, Penta, Pice. Okay. Penta.
Pentice.
Sexta.
Sice.
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 Yeah, but then what do you do with seven?
Pop nice.
Suffice.
Nice. It's 9.
Except dice.
Yes.
9 is 9. Don't even, dude. No is no. No means no. 9 means 9.
Thank you. Princess actually has the word fourfold. There you
Okay,
go.
that doesn't even sound like ice. We had to have ice in
It's
it.
not. You gotta have
Come on,
ice in it.
English and other languages that we're pulling from to get this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, hey, that's all right.
quad ice.
Well, let's
Okay,
grab
looks like
let's
yeah.
grab one of our old topics then. What do you say?
Well, let's do it. That was
All
good
right.
enough staller right there.
Yeah, we've got some recommended ones. I say we should go with this one from Karma
Okay.
called How Far Should I Go?
Karma. It's been a while since I've seen Karma.
Yes,
I hope they're well.
This was posted more than a year ago, actually. So yeah, so we're actually digging through the archives for some of these topics. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys have anything you want us to talk about.
Yep. If you do. Oh, yeah, I didn't even invite you guys. I'm sorry. If you have a topic, feel free to post it in the chat or something. And we will be happy to talk about that. But in the meantime, we will do this one from the archive. So it's called How Far Should I Go? And it's from Karma. And Princess will read it for us.
I've been wanting to date a girl I've known for a while now. She seems like a very nice girl, and having the opportunity to be with her romantically is something I would cherish. Despite this, I don't know very much about her other than a couple of certain things, but they don't add up to a lot at this point. Lately, it seems to me that she's finally giving me the time of day on this sort of thing, so I let her know that I'm into her and I want to date her. That was almost a week ago, and nothing has gone wrong since except for one thing. The issue is that I'm totally into her, but she's not into me, according to her. But the way she acts makes me think that she is. Other people know about the situation and say she's using me in one way or another. She acts like she's at least slightly into me in person, but other times it seems almost as if she's being cold to me. I don't know how I should address this issue. Should I keep on giving her my attention and love and hope that one day she'll actually want to be with me? Or should I stop trying in case she's just playing with my emotions and I get hurt in the future somehow? I also can't help but think that she has some deep-rooted pain or issue that justifies the situation. Because from what I do know about her, this may be possible, but there's no way for me to be sure. Thanks for your help. From Karma.
Well, thanks for the topic, Karma, if you hear this. And there's one thing in there that I really zero in on here. Should I keep giving her my attention and love and hope that one day she actually wants to be with me? Or should I stop trying in case she's just playing with my emotions and I get hurt in the future somehow? That sentence right there piqued my interest because if you end up in a long-term relationship with someone, you're going to get hurt. And you're going to hurt that other person. As a person who's been married for a handful of years, it happens. You know, and being hurt. So being hurt is kind of a part of anything. So I'm pretty sure that getting hurt is going to be part of the process, whether you end up with this person or not. And so it really kind of just depends on what type of hurt you're going to be able to deal with, I guess. But with that, I'm going to turn over to Ryan because man, he looks so good. You ever look at Ryan? Yeah. With that look on his face, especially. He's got the pouty lips.
That's not the pouty lips. I don't know how people do these things with their faces. Yeah, no, this is a good topic. So it's kind of interesting. I'm right in the same boat as Joe. You're worried about getting hurt in the future somehow, and I'm just thinking that's a good thing. Not really. I don't want you to get hurt, but at the same time, um, it's interesting when we chase something and we find out that we were chasing a false dream, something that couldn't happen, something wasn't meant to be, and it was just our own venture. It had nothing to do with them. It was just us wanting that person, type of thing. Yeah, we're gonna hurt ourselves. I think if you look at a relationship, it may say they don't feel the same way about you, right? But you still chase after them, right? And that's okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you do that, and you realize at the end that at the end of it all, and they don't take you on, and you end up without them. It can hurt, but it can also hurt even more since we spent so much time chasing it, and then we know it's our fault. It's funny because most of the time when we hurt in relationships, we are hurting because we're the ones that's wrong. We're the ones doing something that's for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Most pain comes in relationships because of this. Now, there are times where we hurt each other. Yep, that happens. But a lot of it, most of the time, like 80% of the time that we feel hurt in a relationship, it's our fault that we are hurt. In fact, almost that's the way it is throughout all of life. If you ever feel hurt by anybody, most of the time it's you taking it in such a way that you are hurting yourself with their comment. And they don't even mean to hurt you. It was just a comment that they said, or it was just something they did and they weren't thinking about you. And the fact that they didn't think about you made you sad because you want them to think about you. And then you realize if you think even further, you might realize, oh, that was selfish for me to want them to think about me all the time. I can't expect them to think about me all the time, and me wanting that and getting hurt when they didn't. I mean, that's just my fault. They didn't do anything wrong. They just weren't thinking about me when they were doing that thing. And that is good. They shouldn't be thinking about me 24/7. It's not, so a lot of times when we get hurt, it's our fault. But that's important. That is important. Why? Because how else are we ever going to learn to stop being so focused on ourselves if we aren't getting hurt by doing that, by being focused on something? It's like, you touch a hot stove, you're like, oh, that burns. Ow. Don't touch the hot stove, right? I'm focused on myself in this relationship way too much. I'm focusing on myself more than I'm focusing on the other person. Ow, that hurt. I need to stop doing that, right? We should have that response. So just like Joe said, I love that you put that in here because you are going to hurt each other. And a lot of times you are going to hurt yourselves in these relationships, no matter what kind of relationship it is, whether you guys are really close or you're not. But anyhow, on to the other part of the question. Should you keep on giving her attention and love and hope that one day she actually wants to be with you? That's an interesting thing. It's one of those things. It's not wrong to do that. You can give her your attention and love, but I would say, and you can have the desire and hope that she want to be with you, right? There's nothing wrong with that romantic interest, but I would say it's more chivalrous, it's more righteous, more virtuous, more honorable if you continue to give her the attention and love regardless of whether a day comes where she wants to be with you. Because in any relationship, if it lasts beyond a certain point, there are going to be times where that's what love will be. It will be giving of yourself regardless of any feeling, regardless of any repayment, regardless of all of this. You're going to choose to give yourself, give your life over for their sake and nothing else. And that's a beautiful thing. That's the true nature of love, right? To make that kind of sacrifice. And it's not really a real sacrifice if it's not like immediately, I guess, rewarded, right? there are rewards to sacrifice, but that's up to the other person. And I think it's better to hope that your love is received than it is to hope that they love you back. Does that make sense? So when you do a loving act, it makes sense to hope for something, but I would say if you do a loving act, the best thing you can hope for is that they receive your love, that they understand it and they feel it.
Mm-hmm.
It's far better than it is to hope for them to reciprocate it, to reflect it back onto you. To hope for that, honestly, you're going to be hurting yourself, because it's, again, one of those things where you're focusing on yourself instead of them. And then when you get hurt, when they don't tell you they love you back, it's only your fault. You're the only one to blame when you get hurt for that, right? So, yeah, I think it's not wrong to do these things. It's not wrong to be interested and chase after. But if there is something to note here, and that's this. They said they have already announced that they aren't into you the way that you're into them. At that point, I think it's best to respect them and acknowledge them and their wishes and say, okay, then we won't be a thing. And then from there, you just act yourself. Act completely yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they fall in love with you, then they're falling in love with the person that is you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want.
Right.
You don't want them falling in love with someone who's not you, right? It's someone who you're just trying to be to get them. And then then it's not really you. And later on in life, when you kind of revert and you become lax, and all of a sudden they're like, who are you? You're not the person I started dating, I'm like, yeah, that's because I was trying my darndest back then to be someone, that you would like.
Mm-hmm. I know I got to keep up this charade forever.
Yeah, right? It's like I'm not even into pandas.
Pandas.
I don't know. I just figured that out. Yeah. All right. You're not into pandas? That was the whole foundation of our relationship. I'm sorry. Wow, I can't believe you. We're over. Well, too late now. I got the ring. Anyways, ultimately, I would say it's best to respect them, respect their wishes. If they say they're not into you, they're saying it for a reason. You can ask, say, hey, obviously you're not into me. Do you want to be into me? Is that something you're trying to learn how to be? If they say yes, or if they say no, your reaction should be the same. Don't force it, and just be yourself. Because if they end up liking you, you want it to be when you are yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's for sure. And if they don't, then good, that's fine too. Unless you got a good friend and you didn't spend your time chasing something that you can't force, right? You can't force someone to like you. You can try to be someone that they'll like, which is not good, but you can't force them to like you. That's entirely up to them, and mostly their subconscious mind, not their conscious mind, their subconscious mind. Because their subconscious mind is where all habits and perceptions exist. Mm-hmm. Whether you are into riding bikes, whether you like roller skating or skateboarding, right? All of those things, they're tied up in your subconscious mind. You gain appreciation through them, for them, through the things that you do in your life and through the things and activities that you perceive and you watch other people do, and you go, oh, I really like that. I'm into that. I would never do it myself, and I'm really into it. It's really cool. Or, yeah, I've tried it out. I was bad at first, but then I got really good at it over time, and now I just really like it. There are all these things that built up throughout our lives and our perceptions. And romance, what we're attracted to, whether it be a guy or a girl, whether it be a certain type of personality, or like someone that's similar to us or someone that's completely opposite, someone of certain kind of physical features, these are all built into us through our subconscious mind, which is shaped, which is something that we form over time and can change, just like any habit, right? We can change our perception on things. And so, and sometimes we can change our perception on things really fast, and sometimes they take a really long time. It's kind of interesting. But in some things, they just don't ever seem to change, or they take years and years and years. But either way, the point is trying to get someone else to like you is pretty much impossible, because their subconscious mind, they don't even have a full control over. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you could try. Nothing wrong trying. But I think it's better to just take a logical approach to it and respect her wishes as well. But anyways, with that, I'm going to move it over to Joe, see what he's got to say.
Yeah, there's a couple red flags, it looks like, in this, actually. One is the one that Ryan pointed out here, and that is if she's expressed, hey, I'm not into you like that, then, that's one red flag that goes up. Another one is that people, it seems to be that people are saying something about she might be using you. Where was that in here?
Yeah.
Other people know about the situation and say she's using me in one way or another. She acts like she's at least slightly into me in person, and other times like she's being cold. So, okay. So here's the thing about that. If there's even the hint of somebody using another person for something, then that's a pretty serious red flag. If she's expressed, I'm not all that into you, and then but doesn't, but then acts like it, and then doesn't act like it, and plays this hot and cold game. If other people are noticing something about that, and it seems like that she's using you, then it would probably be best to take the romantic part out of it and let go of that part, and just like Ryan was saying, just be yourself. And I would find other things to be interested in than her, because when somebody is using another person, that's not good for either one of them,
Right.
because a person is not a thing. A person is not a thing. It's not a thing to be gotten. It's not a thing to be used for your advantage. But we do it, I mean, I'm guilty of it. Ryan's probably not, but I am.
I'm sure I am. What is it?
Using other people.
Probably. I think we do without even knowing sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we do. Yeah, I'm sure. But when, especially in a relationship, if someone is just using the other person to, for gifts that they get, or maybe a feeling that they get, or financial things, whatever it is, right? When we use another person as an object for our own ends, that's not good for us. Because then we start to see people as things, and they're not things. And then when they don't cooperate, we get upset and we get mad at the world, and we're like, people are so dumb and everything like that. Because, a person is a person. They think, they reason, they have feelings, they have dreams. A thing is just a thing. And so it's obviously it's not good for the person that's being used to be used, because they're being used, right? Like, it's like you're not being treated with the dignity that you deserve as a human. Well, deserve is a bad word. You're not being treated with appropriate dignity that you have as a person. And for the person who's using that other person, that's not healthy for them either, because a couple things are happening. One, like I just said before, they're starting to see people as things to get what they want. And the other thing is if we play along with that and allow them to use us for those things, they turn into a spoiled little rotten little brat. Because they're getting their way all the time. And then, did you ever see that? Like,
Oh yeah.
and then they turn into a brat. And so then you got to deal with them being a brat. It's like, well, this isn't any fun. And it's not good for them to be a brat either. Because then when it just messes up everything in their interactions with other people, and like they think that maybe if I just throw enough of a temper tantrum, I'll get what I want.
They even it's hard for them to deal with themselves when anything goes wrong. They start to kind of whine and get, yeah.
Exactly. It's basically level of maturity just goes down and down and down and down and down, right? So for the sake of yourself and for the sake of this other person, if there's any using of another person going on,
is it me? Okay, I can't hear Joe. It might be me. So sorry. I'm gonna try to fix that.
Okay, well, if everybody else can hear me, then I'm gonna keep going. Oh, Ryan left. This is gonna be great when he comes back. Am I up to? Which side am I on now? Am I on the top or am I on the bottom? Am I on the bottom or am I on the top?
Okay, sorry about that. Now you got to switch us.
Now I'm static P. No, I'm gonna be static P for a minute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I literally everything went dead silent, and I was like, Zoom did this before. All right, just got to restart it.
Yeah,
that's sorry about that. Okay,
I'm gonna be you for a minute because it's just nice. I'm gonna be on high. I like it up here. It's nice.
Wow.
How's it feel to be in the basement?
I mean, geez, what the heck?
I know, right? I'm always looking up to you, Ryan. I always as well.
Yeah. Right. Well, what happens if this happens? What now? Hold on.
Hey, get out of here. You're back in your spot.
Okay, that probably did not look fluid at all. I did my best.
All right.
Cool.
That was fun. Okay. If somebody's using another person, then stop it. I would say distance yourself and treat them like a friend in that case. Because like Ryan was saying, if I know me, if I were you and I would continue in this situation, what would happen is I would end up contorting myself into something that's not who I am in order to try and impress this person, in order to try and give them what they want so they could be with me. And then I would end up being not myself. And long term, that's a losing strategy. Because then they fall in love with someone who's not you. And then you got to be not you for the rest of your life if you end up like marrying this person or something, right? So for the duration of the relationship, you are going to be not yourself. And I've been there before in relationships. That's not any fun. Because then eventually you get tired of it and you're like, oh, man, I'm not even myself. I just want to relax and be myself again, And then it's a big shocker that you don't like pandas. Like Ryan was talking about.
Go figure. No, I'm just kidding.
But anyway, that's what I got. Ryan, what else you got?
No, I don't think I really have a whole lot more to add to that. I think that kind of does sum it up quite nicely. I mean, you gotta be careful with certain people. And if you see those red flags, then I'm not saying don't you don't want to just completely distrust them. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You want to try to
Mhm.
see if you can make that friendship work.
Mhm.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
But you can look for yourself and try to identify it. Is it true? Is it not? Um, and if not, then cool. But if they are, then what do you do? Right? What do you do if they are trying to use it? What do you do with a relationship where the person is really only in the relationship and maybe they flirt with you, but they tell you, hey, I'm not really into you, but they still flirt with you and stuff like that. They seem to try to get what they want and that sort of thing. What do you do with that sort of relationship? And I think the best thing you can do, and I know this is really difficult, and maybe there's a lot of different ways you could do this. I would try to be tactful as possible, but in one way or another, kind of call them out. Now, I don't mean, of course, I don't mean, make a fool out of them. Obviously do it one-on-one and just be like, hey, if you're not really into me, then that's cool. That's fine. But if you're flirting with me, then I guess I have to ask, why? And, it's not because you're trying to get anything out of me, are you? You know, um, if you say that, right, they're going to be like questioning themselves and they go, no, 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 I wasn't trying to get anything out of you. And then they're going to act more cautiously about it. And then they're going to actually start to shape up, even though you never actually even had to call them out.
Mm.
Or if it's pretty blatant and they want you to do something, you can always just say no. And by saying no, it might put them in a bit of a panic. It might make them be a little bit sassy,
Mhm.
and that's okay. I mean,
Sassy's a good word.
yeah, they might be a little sassy, and that's okay. If they're sassy, it's important because Joe was just talking about this. If you allow someone to get away with doing things that are not good for them or good for you, if you allow someone to be a ham, as Joseph had said, what?
Yeah.
No, if your friend isn't kind, right? And you let them get away with that, you're not doing them any good. Right? If you just allow them to be mean and you say, "Oh well, it's okay. I'll listen, I'll do what they say just because I'm a good friend. I'm really patient, I'm really kind, and I can do things even if they're not nice all the time."
Mhm.
That's nice. That's a good quality. It's good to be tolerant and patient and all of those things. It's good. But it's also really important for them to figure out how to stop doing that.
Mhm.
By putting your foot down and not going through with it, yeah, they might be forced into a bad situation and they might be mean or whatever. But obviously,
Belligerent.
if they become mean, then like, what kind of friendship is that? And then that's okay. But here's the thing: if you stand up for what's right, you're going to gain more respect from them than if you listen to them when they're saying stuff that's not right, or if they're trying to use you or whatever. It's interesting, and we've talked about this quite a few times, but yeah, giving into what other person, like trying to make someone else happy even though they're doing the wrong thing, and so you're kind of going into it, or they're trying to do something that's good but they're being really mean about it, the way that they're going about it is wrong or whatever, there's something not right about their character. If you just go with it, you don't earn any respect. Why? Because you're only following them.
Mhm.
You don't gain respect from people that are just listening to you. No, you actually feel like you have more power over them. So you actually lose respect when you do things that other people are telling you to do
Mhm.
just because they said it,
Yeah. And
especially
most
if
of the
they're
time
mean.
you're trying to get them to like you and respect you, and like and it totally backfires.
Yeah, it totally backfires. Now, I'm not saying go out there and listen to nobody, right? Rather, you need to be your own person and do whatever you believe is right, period. Whatever you believe you should do. And that includes even putting people in their place sometimes. And I don't, I'm not the kind of person that's good at that. But if someone is obviously being rude, you should let them know, like, hey, maybe try to figure out a different way because that was kind of rude the way that you said that, you know? Um, and then you can go and do the thing that they asked you to do. But it's important to let them know, because if you don't let them know, they're not going to change and they're not going to have anything to respect, right? If they keep on putting you down and you just accept that, then that's where you're going to be. And their power is going to be over you. And you know what's funny is they're never going to like you more and more and more. They're never going to like you any more than they do right now. If they're the ones commanding you, telling you what to do, right? The ones using you, right?
Mhm.
The only way they're ever going to learn to like you more is if you start to improve who you are and you start to just be you and not worry about what they feel.
Mhm.
Because then they can see who you are and go, oh, I like that person. Or they can say, I don't like that person. And then they can leave because they're not very kind and good to be around in the first place. Obviously, you want what's best for them so you can love them and you can desire the best for them and try to help them get there. And that's the whole bottom line, right? That's the whole point of any of this, is to love them and to desire the best for them and to help them do that, help them get there. But sometimes that means being at a distance. Certain relationships, they cause people to just have this habit of doing bad things, right? Because you've been in that relationship for so long, so that's kind of like what their personality is around you. And so having that distance for a while can help. So anyways, all of that said, yeah, I mean, for the topic, there's nothing wrong with chasing her, but I think to respect what she said and say, since she said, I'm not really into you, I think the best thing you can do is just love her, but not chase her. Just do things for her that a friend would do. That's good, and if she happens to fall in love with you, awesome. But you want to just be you, not someone who's chasing after somebody, because you're going to be different when you're chasing after somebody.
Right.
You just are, because you're going to try to figure out, what do I do to get her to like me? And then you're not going to be you. So just be you, and she'll more likely fall in love with you. Honestly, that's why a lot of times when we stop looking for relationships, that's when all of a sudden everyone wants to have a relationship with us, because then we're ourselves. We feel comfortable and we look more appealing when we're comfortable, right? Someone who finds themselves okay, like, hey, I'm satisfied with this scenario right now. I don't need more. I don't need you in my life. People are attracted to that because that's like, wow, this is a person who can actually take care of themselves and they don't need me to do that for them. That's attractive. This is a person that can maybe even take care of me. That's attractive. This is a person who has strong faith in themselves and they're just themselves, and that's attractive. They're not trying to put on a show. They're not trying to impress anybody. They're just being a good person. And I think that's, yeah. So anyways, that's that. I said I didn't have anything else to say, but I said that instead of nothing.
Apparently you did.
So
that was a lot of nothing else.
I can do that. Apparently, I can turn nothing into something.
Good job. You can, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not as good as God, though, of course.
Good job. No,
I could. Somehow I can do it.
Master at that, for sure. But there is, it's interesting. You've heard the old adage, if you love someone, set them free. If they come back, it's meant to be. I mean, it's cute, but there is some truth in that, because if you like, so one thing, yeah, you can be their friend, or another thing, you can just like totally start blowing them off. That's another thing too. I mean, I don't know how. You don't have to be mean, but pretty much just like what Ryan was saying, just distance yourself. Don't like disregard them or ignore them or anything, but just be like, get in your heart and in your mind, like, I don't need this person. I don't need this person to be happy. I can find ways to be happy, because really, that a lot of times when we're chasing some kind of romance, it's because we're chasing a feeling of happiness or
right,
contentment or pleasure or something,
joy,
right?
Whatever. Yeah. Excitement.
Yeah, and so
wonder.
Happiness is a completely, it's an inside job for us. And we don't pursue it by pursuing happiness. We end up happy by pursuing virtue. Ryan has said this many, many times, and it's so true. So if you find things that you can do that don't involve this person, start to pursue those things. You know, I know for me, I became attractive when I, you know, totally, like Ryan was just talking about, I totally got my mind off of dating anybody and focused on, in my case, it was music. I was pursuing music and media technology stuff, right? That was kind of like my major, the stuff I was studying in college. And I threw myself into all that. And lo and behold, not long after that, I ended up, you know, dating my wife. She wasn't my wife then, but I ended up dating her and she ended up becoming my wife, right?
Right.
But I had totally, like, I was like, nope, no relationships, none. I'm not even gonna think of it. It's so far off my radar screen. Like, I'm just gonna pursue what I'm gonna pursue. I'm gonna do the things I need to in order to be a better musician, in order to learn what I need to learn, in order to produce music, in order to be a band, be in a band and function as a band, and also to get as good as I can at my instruments that I play. And whatever I can do there, that's what I'm going to focus on. And then all of a sudden, here she comes and she disrupted everything. Right?
That jerk.
Because relationships do that. Relationships will encompass a large portion of your life. They just do. So in a time like this, with what's going on with this individual, definitely find other things to pursue. Find the things you love to pursue and do it. And then you don't even have to be mean to this person, but they'll just notice that you're not around so much. You're not trying to be there. And that's attractive too, because you ever notice that a magnet, if like people are kind of like magnets. When we try and, you know, and it's weird. Like when we try and you ever put a magnet next to the other one and it repels it?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're like when we're in this situation where we're totally into somebody. They're not maybe into us, but we're trying to get them into us. And so we're like doing everything we can. That's what we end up doing. We're like repelling them. But we can flip that around and just start doing our thing. And then all of a sudden they're going to start following us around. You know, did you ever have that happen?
Yeah. Hey, you flip the switch and it goes.
Right, exactly. But here's the trick. You can't flip it in order to get them to follow you, because then your intention is there. Your true intentions always get figured out, right? Mm-hmm. Subconsciously, they're there. So it has to be genuine. You have to genuinely be like, all right, I'm letting go of the situation. I'm going to pursue other things. And then do it. And you're going to have fun doing it. Because when you throw yourself into something, it's fun. We talked about this on the last topic. When you try your hardest at something, it's fun. So do that. And then you're going to find new life within you. And it won't matter to you whether they decide to come along or not. It just won't matter. But anyway, that's what I got. So, and I'm the host. And it's like almost midnight. So
welcome to the new age, the new day.
Welcome to Thanks. Are you radioactive?
Sometimes I actually am. Every human being is slightly radioactive.
Yeah.
Bananas might be more radioactive, but we're all radioactive.
Jehoshaphat, yes, I play the kazoo. It's one of my many instruments that I play. Welcome to Stop Screaming Saturdays. Nice.
Wow, I like it.
I love it. That's great.
I like it.
But awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. This has been a fun time. And I know we started a little bit late. Yeah, we're gonna end it after that topic. Because if we started another one, we're gonna be going.
That's true.
It'll be Stop Screaming Saturdays. But at any rate, you guys are awesome. We love you guys. We'll be back on Monday night. Also, we'll be back Monday morning on the Double Cup of Joe show. where we begin our week on forgiveness. This is an important week.
Ooh, that
for
is an
Double Cup
important
of
week.
Joe. This is because forgiveness is a hugely important topic. It is the pathway to healing in so many ways. So if you feel like you've been broken, if you feel like you've been hurt, this would be a great week to at least. I know it's early. It starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's early. You can watch it later. We're not offended. We love you anyway.
Yeah.
So,
We
absolutely.
are, yeah, it's awesome. It's
Mhm.
awesome to be with you guys. But
Yep.
we will
So-
see you guys all again
We
very
will.
soon.
And until then, have a great time. Go to bss.studio. Yeah, find us on Discord. Do whatever.
Mhm. Yeah.
We love you. We just want to spend some time with you. So have a great weekend, guys, and we will see you next week.
Blessings. Bye-bye. Peace.
Bye, guys.